Hello and welcome to another edition of Another Book Review. This week I'll be reviewing Jeffrey Eugenides' novel Middlesex. I'll talk a little bit about the author, give a brief spoiler-free overview of the plot, talk about what I liked about the book, what I didn't like about the book, who I'd recommend the book to, and finish it off with what I'll be reading for next time. Jeffrey Eugenides is a fairly well-known author. This book, Middlesex, came out in, I believe, 2001. His most well-known book is still probably The Virgin Suicides, which was made into a movie by Sofia Coppola. Jeffrey Eugenides is usually kind of grouped in with other authors such as David Foster Wallace. Apparently, he was in school at the same time as Rick Moody, and so I think that they are close friends. But they all kind of came up at the same time in the late '90s, early 2000s. They're kind of as a cohort, kind of grouped together a lot of times. Middlesex, what this book is about the family history of a character whose name is Cal, who is intersex. She has both male and female chromosomes, and the book is really an examination of her or his, depending on what the time frame of the book that we're speaking about. The character identifies as both male and female depending on the point of time in the story. What the character relates the life history, the family history, going back to when her grandparents immigrated in from, I believe it is Turkey or Greece, up to the present day in the early 2000s when the book was published. And so we go over the character's family history, growing up in the Detroit suburbs. Prior to that, we go over the grandparents coming over, fleeing really World War II to come to America. We kind of examine both sides of the family and why the character may be intersex due to chromosomal inbreeding, essentially, is what happens and how kind of that came about. So that's a really brief overview of the plot. The book is, I think, about over 500 pages, so it's pretty long and in-depth. Some stuff that I liked about it. This is the first thing I had read of Eugenides, whose name I've probably butchered a couple times now, but I really enjoyed his writing style. His prose is very lyrical and beautiful. It's not necessarily lines that will knock you out every page, but you definitely get the sense in reading him that he is a very skilled author. He knows word choices he's very good at. He's also very good at something I noticed at transitioning between time periods, because the book is really this character's family history, but he skips ahead throughout, kind of skips back and forward in time. So there's never really a clear demarcation. The chapter can start in one time period and then go into another time period very easily. And I think in the hands of a lesser skilled author, you would get confused. But I think he's skilled enough to where that doesn't necessarily happen. The plot I had kind of issues with. I'll talk a little bit about that in the stuff I didn't care for as much section. But there are parts of the book that I really did enjoy. The history of Cal's grandparents coming from Turkey during World War II and fleeing World War II Turkey or Greece. That portion of it I loved. I thought it was really the best part of the book by far. I also really thought that there's a portion of the book where Cal goes to an all-girls school, and that part of it where she has a friendship with a character who she refers to as the object, that felt very real and very thoughtful of the character, but also realistic. So I really enjoyed that part of it. The parts that I didn't enjoy as much, it is a 500-page book, and there are plot points that I did enjoy a lot. There are plot points that I enjoyed less of. I think the book wraps itself up in a very interesting place. I think that there are a lot of parts of it that are going to be hit and miss as far as the plot goes. There are also some parts in it that, while I was reading it, that I was like, that stretched kind of the believability of the characters involved, and I thought that these things would come back and have a greater influence on the plot later or the characters later. And there's some kind of out there moments that really never come back and circle back around and have significance. It is a very kind of morbid and sad book. In certain parts of it, there's a lot of death in the book. There are a lot of characters to kind of keep track of, which is sometimes difficult. Like I said, overall, I enjoyed it. There are pacing issues where it is a little slow, and some of those things I wonder if he could have cut, but because he's telling a story of 3 generations of characters, I think there's a lot of stuff that's left in there just really to kind of keep that up. So the pacing is sometimes a little off. I did enjoy the fact that he kind of clearly as a theme is concerned about kind of the immigrant experience in America. And when he's talking about not only Cal's grandparents, but also her parents, his or her parents, and how they view America and how the grandparents view it and how he or she views it. I think all those things kind of work together to kind of explore that theme that was really interesting. I think Detroit felt like a real place in this book. It's centered around Detroit, and when he's kind of talking about the Detroit area, that felt real in a way that I thought gave some authenticity to the book. I think the author is around from that area. So if you like, for people I would recommend this to, if you like kind of long, multi-generational sagas that may drag in some areas, but are really lifted, I think, by the theme and by the writing. And I think the main character and kind of getting into that character's psychological state and how they kind of deal in the world, I think you'll like this a lot. It reminded me a little bit of both of the Donna Tartt books that I liked. So if you're someone who does enjoy Donna Tartt, I think that his writing is on that level as far as lyrical beauty in the prose. So you may want to check it out if you haven't already. So that is Middlesex by Jeffrey Eugenides. Next time I'm going to be reading Stone Mattress, a short story collection by Margaret Atwood. As always, if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe to the channel. And I'll leave my link to the Twitter feed below. And if you have any comments, please feel free to leave them. Until next time, bye.